Hi, this is Dr. Dharmesh Mehta. Today I'll be discussing telemedicine. Telemedicine is very important and essential during the COVID-19 pandemic. So what is telemedicine? It refers to remote clinical services. This means that the physician and patient can be at two different locations and can communicate via teletechnology. While telehealth refers to wider version of remote healthcare services, which also includes non-clinical services such as provider training, administrative meetings, and CME. Telemedicine can be used to increase access to healthcare during crisis, for example, pandemics, which we are currently experiencing right now. It is also helpful during natural disasters such as earthquake. Patient with mild symptoms can be seen by their physician via remote visit. If needed, this patient can be redirected to the testing site for sample collection or to the hospital for in-person care. In addition, telemedicine can allow continued monitoring and follow-up of patients who are advised to stay home. They can continue to interact with their medical team as they recover. It minimizes unnecessary direct contact between healthcare staff and patient in order to keep everyone safe. While telemedicine, outside provider can give service to those patients in affected area, which eventually reduce burden on local healthcare system. Telemedicine can offer urgent, low acuity ambulatory care for issues such as sore throat, joint pain, and rash. This allows more in-office visit for the high acuity patient that needs to be seen. It can also provide continuity of chronic diseases for ongoing medical condition like managing glucose control in diabetics, home BP monitoring for hypertension, and weight changes in patients with CHF. It is cost effective for all, including physicians, patients, and payers. Telemedicine is more convenient for patients. For example, transportation issues can be avoided for older patients. It also saves parking and transportation fees. It increases patient compliance for longitudinal care. For example, those patients who usually do not show up for office visit now has a way to see the provider remotely. It minimizes waiting time. Can you guess the total average time spent for an in-person visit in office? It is 120 minutes from start to finish. It decreases time taken off from school or work. It provides flexibility as virtual visit can be done anytime, including odd hours and weekends. It also decreases overhead costs since you will need limited staff and limited space to conduct the visit. It gives quick healthcare access, which avoids unnecessary urgent care or ER visit. All these benefits in turn improve overall patient satisfaction. Even with all these benefits, there are limitations or challenges which can be arise. For those who are not familiar with technology, can have a hard time with the telemedicine visit. There is also a limitation in performing physical exam. Technical issues can affect the visits, such as low video quality due to internet issue. There are four main types of virtual services: telehealth visit, telephone services, virtual check-ins, and e-visit. On March 17th of this year, with 1135 waiver, Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, expanded access to Medicare telehealth services so that patients can receive care from their doctor in all areas of the country and in all settings without having to travel to a healthcare facility. CMS waived requirement that a physician needs to be licensed in the state where the patient is located. Now the patient may be located in any settings during the visit, including their homes. This waiver is effective from March 6, 2020 and will last until the COVID-19 public health emergency ends. It requires interactive audio and video telecommunication in real time. Patient can use devices such as smartphone, tablets, or laptop for these visits. Department of Human and Health Services, or HSS, will waive penalty for HIPAA violation against healthcare provider for using day-to-day communication platform like FaceTime, Google Duo, Skype, or Facebook Messenger. Public-facing video and messaging products should not be used, such as Facebook Live, TikTok. So this is an example of few smartphone applications used for telemedicine. This is taken from pilot project Cleveland Clinic, London College of Medicine for designing virtual medical student ambulatory rotation. For phone call, you can use *67 to mask the phone number. For Google Voice or WhatsApp or Doximity, you can use other number to mask your personal number. For FaceTime, you can use your other email ID to mask the number. So doximity is kind of very popular in among the healthcare professional, as you don't need even app. You can just dial the phone or dial the video call, and then patient just picks up. Informed consent. Make sure the patient understands the risks and benefits of the virtual visit. It provides flexibility and convenience, but also involves risk of using electronic communication. There is also a limitation in performing physical exam. Make sure we perform the visit in quiet and private place. Keep door closed. Let the staff or family know when you are conducting virtual visit. Keep the phone silent. Ensure confidentiality to the patient. Choose appropriate level of the care for the virtual visit. If any time during the visit, if we feel that patient needs to schedule an in-person follow-up or needs to be sent to the urgent care or ER, explain it to the patient very clearly. So while conducting the visit, dress professionally. Sit up straight and lean forward to show interest in the patient. Maintain a welcoming approach. Set expectation with our patient. Maintain the same level of professionalism during the virtual visit as we do during in-person visit. Best way to do this is to assume the patient is sitting next to you. Keep in mind that history taking is very important part of the visit. Look directly at the web camera and stay within the camera frame. The best way to do this is to keep the eyes on at the level of camera. Make sure the patient can hear and see properly before starting the visit. Signal to your patient that you are listening by nodding your head. Try to avoid charting as it can create interference and also distract eye contact. Elicit questions frequently as patients may be more hesitant to ask them in virtual visit. We should end every telemedicine visit with a clear description of next step and follow-up plans. Physical exam. Physical exams start as soon as we start the consultation. During the physical examination, patient can assist in multiple ways. They can self-palpate area of tenderness. They can help in moving the camera to the appropriate area of examination. They can also perform range of motion tasks. The patient may check pulse with smartwatch or check blood pressure with the machine. So the best way to do a physical exam is walk through with the patient. Just by look, we can check the alertness or distress level. So by pressing the head, we can check for the sinus tenderness. For the eyes, ask them to look down and you can look sclera for the icterus, or we can ask them to look up and we can look at the conjunctiva for any conjunctivitis. We can also ask to do the eye movement side to side. We can tell them to do the ear pulling and see if triggers any pain. You can also ask them to check for any mastoid tenderness. Look for nasal flaring if patient is huffing and puffing. Ask them to open the mouth and check oropharynx. This can be challenging sometimes as if they have to come real close to the camera. You can ask them to check, press the neck and check for any tenderness. For lungs, we can check the respiratory rate and see the effort. For that, we can ask the patient to do the deep breath. For abdomen, check for any tenderness. For a neuro exam, listen to their speech carefully. And then for the gait, ask them to walk around if they are not unstable. For skin, look for any rash. And for extremity, we can ask them to check for any edema. So documentation is very important part of the visit. Document that the service was provided to telemedicine, mention what kind of the medium was used and the location of the patient. Identify who is present with the patient in the room. Also document that informed consent was obtained as well as the amount of time spent. Billing. For billing, these visits are considered same as in-person visit and they are paid at the same rate. Billing codes include 99201 to 99205 for new patient and 99212 for 99215 for old patient. The Medicare co-insurance and deductible apply the same way. CMS will not penalize for reducing or waiving costs like copay. Medicare telehealth requires an established relationship. However, HHS will not conduct audits to ensure that such a relationship existed for claims submitted during this pandemic. We can use Modify 95 to report billing. Private insurance. Telehealth coverage and regulation vary by payer and state. There is no set standard for private health insurance provider. Some insurance companies pay for it, whereas others do not. Some states have priority laws that require the insurance company to reimburse at the same rate as in-person visit uh, for service provided. Telephone services. These kind of services are used for the patient who are not tech savvy or who don't have access to audio video platforms. It includes telephonic evaluation and management for both new and established patients. This service requires verbal consent. The CMS announced on April 30th a significant expansion of telehealth services so physicians and other providers can deliver a wider range of care to Medicare patients in their homes. CMS is also increasing payment for this telephone visit to match payment for similar office and outpatient visit. This change is retroactive to March 1st, 2020. For billing, you can use 99441, 5 to 10 minutes, 442, 11 to 20 minutes, 443, 21 to 30 minutes. And if you are more than 30 minutes, you can add 443 and 99442 together. No modify needed for this kind of services. Virtual check-ins. So it is a brief communication service via communication technology, including discussion over telephone or exchange of information through video or imaging using secure text messaging, secure email, or patient portal. This can be performed with a new and established patient. Verbal consent is required. Communication can use non-HIPAA compliant technology during the COVID-19 public health emergency. It can be used for services not originating from a related service within the previous 7 days and not linked to service the next 24-hour or next available appointment. For coding, Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System, HPCS G2012, which is the brief communication technology-based service, 5 to 10 minutes of discussion, and G2010, which is remote evaluation of recorded video and or images. No modifier needed as these are technology-based code. eVisit. It is a non-face-to-face patient communication platform via online electronic health portal, such as Cleveland Clinic has MyChart. It can be only performed with an established relationship with the patient and requires verbal consent. The patient initiates the service with an inquiry to the portal. The digital service must be provided via HIPAA compliant platform. These services can only be reported once in 7 days period and calculate the cumulative time for 7 days. Codes include 99421, 5 to 10 minutes, 422, 11 to 20 minutes, and 423, 21 or more minutes. No modifier needed as these are technology-based code. Controlled substance prescription. During COVID-19 public health emergency, practitioner may issue prescription for Schedule 2 to 4 controlled substance to patient, provided all of the following conditions are met. The prescription is issued for legitimate medical purpose. The telemedicine communication is conducted using an audio-visual, real-time, two-way interactive communication system, and practitioner is acting in accordance with applicable federal and state laws. State licensure requirement. Physician must follow the state's licensure requirement to practice telemedicine. Medical practice is considered to occur at the location of the patient. Physician must have license to practice medicine in the state in which patient is located at the time of visit. Under 1135 waiver, those requirements have been temporary eased under four conditions. Provider is enrolled in Medicare program. Provider have a valid license in the state of Medicare enrollment. Service is provided in a state in which emergency occurring, and provider is not excluded to practice in that state. Malpractice coverage. Physicians are usually at low risk of professional liability using telemedicine in the ambulatory setting. Physicians are encouraged to notify patients of the potential privacy risk due to a cyber threat. Consider adding cyber insurance to cover privacy exposure caused by operating over the internet. Malpractice and cyber insurance for telemedicine may vary among insurance companies and specialties. Please check with your provider about that. These are the example of the COVID-19 billing. U07120, which is acute respiratory disease associated with COVID-19. And these are associated, others are associated diagnosis. We need to use U070 and then after add the associated diagnosis. Almost all of us are now using EMR, so they should be already inbuilt in the system. These are also the code for the billing. There are also additional services we can provide to the telemedicine. These are the coding for that. There are also remote monitoring of the pulse and home visits. So there is a whole list available on the CMS website. These are the resources used um, for the presentation. And thank you so much.